everyone, how are you? This is the Thursday temperature check for proposal industry experts. It is Tales from the Pitch on podcasts. And yeah, it's our way of checking in with the industry and talking to you. And we bring on some fun people and stuff like that. We just talk about like interesting things in the industry. And for those of you who are often listening to this, you may realize that normally we start this with like a little bit of witty banter and like a back and forth, and maybe there's some joking about the music or some like, ha ha ha, like what's Rachelle doing today kind of thing. And I'm not, and I'll tell you why. It actually leads like directly into our very first topic, which is around AI. So today's show, we are going to cover funny little thing around AI meeting notes and kind of AI understanding of like larger topics. And then we're going to go directly into Rachelle just came back from vacation. And so, of course, we're going to revisit like what it is when you're a proposal manager and you have those challenges of like, I put everything down and I have to pick it back up. And why did I leave at all? And then from there, we're actually going to highlight a member of our community and a member of the Baker's Dozen, Beth Bisnet, who is doing something fantastic on LinkedIn. And we are, with her permission, going to steal it and bring it into the community a little bit. And then I will tell you a fantastic Tales from the Pit. With a little bit of caveats because, you know, NDAs and stuff like that. So there you go. And so let me tell you, the reason I gave that like long recitation, Rachelle, like I don't know if you've ever looked at the SOP we built for how we turn this into a podcast and a YouTube episode. Have I know. Yeah.
I know it exists. I have not seen it. I haven't had to do it. And, you know, proposal manager Brian is like, all right, if it's not something I have to deal with immediately, like the extra knowledge is nice, but it is not important right now.
Fair enough. So I'm going to let the audience in on like this fantastic, you may not realize this show is unscripted. Like,
don't tell them.
I know. You may think that there is like a large number of people that are behind us, like building, understanding. There's like research assistants and like all this other stuff. There's an engineer on the other side making sure the sound quality is great. No, none of that exists. And so what ends up happening is we have this program called StreamYard, which connects to LinkedIn and everything like that. And before we're StreamYard Pro, to get the what is it? What is the text based of the audio that you get? Why am I having that? The transcription. Thank you. We would use a program called Descript, and Descript was really good about like taking large pieces of like us talking back and forth and like summarizing it. Their AI that they had was very good at kind of like, hey, you know, you talked about this for 5 minutes. That's going to be one topic. You talked about this for 10 minutes. That's going to be another topic, kind of thing, right? We upgraded to StreamYard Pro, and it provides a transcription for us. So we don't need Descript anymore to do that. So instead, I just throw that transcription into like ChatGPT and ask it to like give us a thing. And ever since I've been doing that, and we've been having this series of guests coming on, what ends up happening is ChatGPT, I will say like, please write up an episode synopsis for a podcast for like this transcription. And it will say, Ben and Rachelle joke around about the state of audio quality in the proposal podcast.
Rachelle broke something new.
And yeah, exactly. Like it will take like the first 2 minutes of this conversation, and it will basically assume that that is what the entire episode is about. Even if I ask it like, hey, reread the whole thing and then rephrase it. And it will still give like a lot of weighting to that very first 2 minutes, as if it's expecting us to make some sort of thesis statement. And it really confused me. It was really, and so I tested it recently on like meeting notes that I generate as well in meetings. And sure enough, if you don't state the purpose of the meeting in your initial transcription note, it will lead, or it will give greater weight to whatever you talk about as the very first thing. And it will try to like create the outline of the meeting based on that. And so I know that we at Proposal Industry Experts, we're really advocating for like, hey, if you're having a meeting with an SME or something like that, record it, throw that stuff into like some sort of AI generative tool to kind of like summarize your notes. But what we're learning, of course, is that there's something there's something behind the scenes that is not working, or not working the way I would expect it. Maybe it was working the way you would expect it. Maybe you start all of your conversations with a thesis statement. Like, hi, Rachelle. Today I would like to talk about like movies.
No, I've noticed this with Adobe Firefly, or not Adobe Fireflies. Oh my gosh. I use Firefly as the meeting note taker. And I have noticed that, yeah, if I don't like go from the beginning, because I use it for kickoffs, and those are kind of like, I don't know, I'm kind of a vibey proposal manager, I guess. So I'm not like super structured. So I'll like start off with like, hey, how you doing? Like, how do we find out about this thing? Let's talk about it. Let's chat. And it just flows very naturally. There's no like, let's do team, let's do project, here's the agenda. And I've noticed that my Fireflies, it does like a meeting summary at the very beginning. And it focuses on that like fluffy beginning stuff. And then there's like just a little thing at the bottom. The last bullet point is, and then they covered like proposal things. And I'm like, no, the whole thing was proposal things, but it's gotten progressively worse. And I thought I was going crazy. I'm like, maybe I just don't run my meetings very well. And then you told me about this. And so I'm really excited for everyone to hear what you found out about what's going on behind the scenes, because I thought I was just using this technology poorly, or I've, in my 15 years as a proposal manager, never learned how to run a meeting.
So the person I spoke to is from DeepMind at Google. And so they're like, hey, I don't have a lot of insight into ChatGPT. I can make some guesses. And they didn't want to be named in the podcast. But I did reach out to them. And I'm like, hey, like, this is the thing that I'm experiencing. Like, it seems weird. And they're like, honestly, it's probably a cost saving measure by ChatGPT. And so like she's like, it's very possible that like there are some controls in place for like again, like a thesis statement, or like the idea like, hey, we're going to follow Chicago APA or something like that, right? Like, and you know, someone should like write what we're going to be talking about at the beginning of the document, sort of thing. So there is probably a little bit of that, but she's like, more than likely things like ChatGPT are trying to reduce their API callouts, and the way they do that is by making like skimming something at the very beginning and making an assumption about all the rest of the content, right? Like it's basically like, I don't want to have to analyze all of this content on your behalf, even though that's what we wanted to do. So I'm going to make a guess on what you're talking about. Because then I don't have to send so much data back and forth. Microsoft doesn't charge me a fortune for like using their data servers, et cetera, because I'm not charging you as a customer. Like, I don't know how much do you pay for professional ChatGPT or any of the other ones?
I do pay for the professional ChatGPT.
Yeah. So I mean,
That's
like,
extremely disheartening on Reddit not over the weekend, but like a week or two ago, about their intention to like raise the pricing eventually to a horrendous, it was like $50 and then $100 a month. And I was like, absolutely not.
of course they do though, right?
Now got us all hooked.
Yeah.
And they know it. And so they're like, well, in the next 5 years, it'll be at least double this. Like,
Yeah.
anyway, I digress.
100%. But like, that's, I mean, so just for disclosure, OpenAI just raised $6.6 billion, and you know, there are estimates that might just be like 9 months of operating costs for them, maybe 10, right? Kind of thing.
It's wild.
And
It's
so,
gross how much computing power it takes to run these things, but it's also gross how much just like expensive manpower it takes to run these things. Sam Altman, looking at you and your salary, but whatever.
yeah,
For you, sir.
no, like there's lots, and like there's still a large human element. Like, again, we should probably revisit with Unica or someone else, like the ethics of AI, because it is super murky, and there is a lot of energy being used for very silly purposes. so if they raise the cost up, yeah, maybe that's not such a horrible thing, but at the same time, it sucks. All right.
If I'm gonna pay for my GPT to not be lazy,
Yeah.
which the first thing that came to mind when you said that, like it's cutting down on the amount of work that it essentially has to do. I describe ChatGPT and other AIs as like a very excited grad student to new people who have not used it yet. And like when I'm telling them, how you have to interact with it, like you wouldn't just like give an assignment and expect the student to run off. Like they need some context, right? But now I'm envisioning this grad student reading the abstract of a paper and then not actually reading the whole paper, because that was me in grad school. And
It
that's
is.
just become a grad student.
Our ChatGPT is on Cole's notes now. Anyways, all right. So, in summary, if you were using AI for or for meeting transcripts and stuff like that, just be aware that you have to prompt it and even like artificially insert some of your language inside that meaning, like call out, I am making an action item for this, because then ChatGPT will pick up on it, right? Like, it is sad that we have to do this, but it is not going to understand language the way that we do. And currently, because of costs, it's going to get lazier, it seems, in the near future about how it handles things. So, yeah, heads up. All right. So, Rachelle, I missed you. Stephen Alvarez and I held down the podcast, and he did a fantastic job. I kind of nursed along as best I could.
You were both fantastic, I'm sure. It's on my list to listen to that episode.
To listen. But you just went on vacation, and probably sent like an email to all of your clients, possibly with a middle finger, possibly with like a stop sign. I don't know how you do your out of office. No, you're a consultant, so you're super polite.
I mean, sometimes I get sassy, usually closer to the holidays when it's like everyone should be out, or at least accommodating of people who are out if you're not. So sometimes I just put like a really fun out of office. I was boring this time and I didn't. I just dropped everything and was like, I gotta go. Because
Okay.
I was literally working until like the last second.
Yeah.
But I thought I had done a really good job of like communicating anything that came in that was due in or around the time. I was like, I'm going on vacation. Here's, what my realistic schedule is going to be. I can or I can't do this. I thought I did a good job. And then I came back on Monday and I had like 150 emails between all of my accounts, which has never happened to me before. And I would say only like 40 of them were things that I didn't actually have to pay attention to. So it took me literally 2 full days to dig out my inbox.
Yeah. That's insane.
Wild.
Yeah.
But the most insane phenomenon to me, and I'm calling it the vacation tax, is like you said, you have this big weight that you were carrying beforehand, and you put it down, and then you come back and you're supposed to pick it back up. And I'm looking at the giant weight that I left myself, and I'm like, I'm not picking that back up. Like, I'd absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I'm struggling with something. I posted about this on LinkedIn today, and I'm seeing a lot of people who are like, that's me too. I'm struggling with this issue where I said no to something, but my no was not accepted. And this happens all the time in-house, where you're like, I can't take another proposal. And they're like, well, you have to figure it out. As a consultant, I don't have to do that. But one of my clients was like, you have plenty of time to do this. Like 7 days to put together a proposal that you should have spent a month on is sufficient time, as if I don't have other things to do and I can drop my entire life to just work on just their proposal. So half of those emails were just them sending me stuff to be ready for me to pick up this proposal. And I'm like, I just did it. I just started working on this proposal. And I'm like, why? And the only thing I can think of is it's that like internalized, like, for lack of a better term, corporate trauma of, sure, I will figure out how to do that. And so I'm sitting here working on a proposal I have no business working on. And I vented about this, and it seems like a lot of, yes, Beth, 2 exclamation points is not enough. I've done a lot of ruminating here.
What is the appropriate number of exclamation points? Because I'm told that once you get past 5, you're going into psychotic territory. So,
well, I'm there.
But go back and re-listen to our last episode where we talk about people pleasing and like the need to take on more work.
This is, yes, why I'm very excited for that episode, because I need.
Yeah. So the holidays are coming up, and it's October. And I know that like a lot of companies finish their fiscal year in December, which means a lot of them either try to spend the remainder of their budget or try to get a project on the books for the first quarter. And that means working through the holidays. And I try to set like really good guidelines around this with my clients. I haven't done it for my major software client yet, but I should probably do so soon-ish.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
you should.
Just tell the salespeople, hey, a reminder, like to tell me when something is coming, like when you think that we're going to have like an issue come up or something like that. But you're right. And honestly, vacation tax is a fantastic way to put it because it's really hard for us to put down our work because the company does need to survive. It was Lauren Stanitsky 2 episodes ago who said that we should be thinking about ourselves as the work that we do keeps the business running like 9 months, 12 months down the road, kind of thing, right? Uh,
Right.
so if we aren't there, yeah, there's trouble ahead, right? So,
And like I feel for you,
mhm.
but also
But also, so do as a consultant, do you find that you have to like? I know that in the past, I have told my clients like, hey, if this is a major proposal that you weren't expecting, we might not be able to bid on it. I also tell them like, hey, if this is just a minor thing, like just reuse one of our old ones and like change the documentation around. Like if you aren't expecting to like make a good impression and you're doing this for marketing or something like that. But it's tough.
the problem I think that happened with this one is they think it's the latter. Like we can just reuse a bunch of stuff, and it'll be a quick, easy knock it out. But it's actually the former.
Mhm.
And I mean, they did find out about it with time. If I had been able to pick it up before vacation, I would have had 3 weeks to work on it if I hadn't gone on vacation. But I couldn't do it. So at that point, I feel like that's your team needs to assess their resources, whether you're internal or a consultant. When someone says like, I can't get to this for 2 weeks, and
Mhm.
at that point you only have 1 week left, why would your choice be to burn those 2 weeks waiting for one person to come back and handle it when you could have spent 2 weeks? And they're perfectly capable. They write proposals all the time,
Mhm.
like internally. They're very capable. So I have no idea why we didn't do it over those 2 weeks. And then I could have come in and cleaned up or done an edit. And this happens in-house too, where they're like, well, no, it's marketing's responsibility or it's the proposal manager's responsibility. So the technical team's not going to work on it. I'm like, this is a resource discussion. This is like a staffing issue. And I don't quite know how to handle it as a consultant because it's not really my business to be like, hey, it is horribly unfair to me, Olivia. I agree. If they weren't like a long, long, long time, like pre-Rachelle started consulting client,
Yeah.
I
So
would say,
Olivia Hasselwood says it seems horribly unfair to you or to you to for them to have handled it this way, and 100% we agree. And you're right. In this case, it's nice to kind of be like, oh well, I created this dependency in you. I guess I'll handle it or something like that. Maybe it's not, but like lesson learned. I'll try to teach you better next time. But it also happens with like well-meaning clients too, right? Like they just have work and they really want to go after it and they just again I wonder sometimes like is it an understanding of like how much time it takes to put together a proposal, is it a misunderstanding of the process, is it I feel like the answer is it's all of those things. And so again maybe something that Pi can do is like help educate proposal managers on understanding how to get this information to their leadership and to their teams and stuff like that.
yes, yeah. If we could figure out like how to have that conversation for y'all, if
Yeah.
you could figure out how to have that conversation for me, that'd be great.
Yeah. This is
I'll talk to your client, your software client. You can talk to my architects, my engineers. It'll be great.
this is episode like 27 of like don't do what the founders at Pi do something better.
You better learn from us.
Learn from us. We screw up on this all the time. All right. So in summary, Rachelle, you had a vacation but you're taxed at the end of it, so
Yeah, absolutely taxed, and I'm thrilled with it. And I just sat in on this. It was specifically for AEC, but it was like the state of marketing in AEC, and the stats on it were insane. It was like more than 25% or only 25% of proposal like marketing staff in AEC companies think that they have the resources to do what they need to do,
yeah.
and they're like, taking on more and more. And I'm like, yeah, we have to fix this. I don't know how, but we have to fix this. This is not okay. Is almost 2025. No mas. no more. We're not picking up this weight anymore. We're not dealing with the vacation tax. Like, I don't know how I'm going to fix it, but Pi is going to fix it.
We will work on solving this. We do have our baker's dozen currently sorting through our priorities, so we'll let you know
where they rank this on this cultural industry shift and taking over the world.
I mean, part of our process has been like, let's figure out a way to advocate for all of you. So yeah. Anyways, let's move on to something a little bit lighter because she's in the audience. So we have a fantastic member in my community.
You're my hero for this.
Yeah, and she did this last year. Like, this came on my radar last year, but I actually don't know, Beth, how long you've been doing this, but like during Halloween, she writes these fantastic like horror stories, spooky stories, as she calls them, for proposals and stuff like that. And it's just, it resonates so much with me. Like, I enjoy it. It's my little like piece of fun every single day that I can see one of these. So anyways, but yeah, like Rachelle, talk me through this. So she does these, and basically they are kind of like, to distill it. I didn't do it last year, didn't you? I feel like
someone did it. Someone did something similar last year. Like, they made the Smees into monsters. I don't know.
Yeah. Who was that? Oh, because I was totally associating that with Beth. All right. Well, Beth, thank you for taking up the charge on doing this. Now we're good. But apparently, you do, Beth. Go do more. Go do more. So who was it then last year that was doing it? Because we had these last year. Anyways, all right. So Beth does this fantastic thing, and it's basically like a piece of stereotypical like proposal process behavior of some sort. Like, this one is fun, like the navigating like poorly formatted information. But there was another one where she did it where it was like the cold RFP, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so great! Like, phrasing the cold RFP as a monster and everything, and absolutely fell in love with it. Anyways, super enjoyable, and we would love to do something for the holiday season. So, Rachelle, do we have an idea of how we're going to incorporate this? Because I really want to match what Beth is doing here.
So I'm Beth, because I love this so much, was just going to straight, as Ben said, steal from you and invite the Pi community to write their own little mini horror stories about proposals. And set them loose however they want to do that. Like, if it's a personal story, if it's a piece of proposal management, if it's characterizing a stereotypical SME as a monster, we want to see like these little stories from all over the community. So
yeah,
that will be our challenge.
Perfect. I'm down. So let's do it. And not only that, let's put our money where our mouth is. We will offer a first place and a second place.
Excellent. I love it.
Yeah, we'll do a sugar wish. If you haven't received a sugar wish from us before, it's a fantastic company in Denver, Colorado, that ships delicious cookies, or actually they branched out. They like do spa products and wine and coffee and snacks and treats. Anyways, we'll do a sugar wish up for you. It arrives at your door in a fantastic package. If you have kids or a significant other, it's fun to like go on the computer and select everything and then be excited about what is coming to you. So yeah, we'll do that up, and I will 100% judge a contest. Great. I like this idea. You know what? Let's take it off of ourselves. Beth, if you want to be a judge, let's rustle up some judges as well. And yeah, we can have like this kind of community led vote and stuff like that. So we'll do the prizes. Y'all do the work. So
love it. Queen of proposal horror over here, Beth.
Queen of proposal horror. Yes, absolutely. All right. So with that in mind, this month we have the challenge. We're going to do some more co-working spaces. We have some other stuff on the books. I guess it's time, 11:24 at my time, probably 2:24 for those of you on the East Coast. It's time for a Tales from the Pitch, right?
Excellent. What you got?
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna not call out the company but it'll probably slip out at some point. This was for a software client that I was running, and we were responding to a bid. And one of the things that they said at the beginning of the bid was, can you prepare this bid in a manner that supports our environmental responsibility? And we were like, okay, challenge accepted. Not a problem. We'll look into this, right? And they did want a printed bid. Like this is, I'm dating myself. This is in the days of printed bids. Anyway, so we accepted, challenge accepted. Marketing really got on board with this. They sourced for us labels. So the label that can go on the box, they sourced it from a sugar manufacturer. So it was like biodegradable labeling and stuff like that. Instead of using plastic binders, we actually found these recycled cardboard binders that have like a biodegradable, like waterproof, like laminate that is created from like plant material or something like that, like slathered across it. Yeah, like we did it up.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Okay.
are you kidding? We totally, like we were amazing on this process. Um, Anyways, and then on top of it, we sourced sugar paper. So if you don't know, it exists. So this is paper that is not grown with trees. It's grown with like sugar cane that is not like sugar quality. Is sort of the idea. So, anyways, it's like highly fibrous. It prints pretty well. Like it does distort the colors a little bit, but yeah, it's the same kind of weight and everything like that. So we did this. Anyways, in the meantime, of course, while marketing is doing all this amazing work of like finding these materials for me, I am doing the laborious work of like getting the responses. And it's not like a huge bid, it's 400 questions, which in the grand scheme of things is not horrible. But what I didn't like, I was newer sort of in my career ish. And um, I wasn't really thinking about like how they wanted it. And they said that they wanted it in a single document. And for a printed document, what that meant, of course, is that they technically wanted that Excel spreadsheet of 400 questions shoved into a Word document at some point. And so 400 questions of Excel, when you shove it into a Word for printing purposes, turns into like just a massive, massive document. So this thing went from when we were originally writing the narrative document of like 50 pages, this turned into like a 400-page document plus kind of thing that we had to. And so suddenly the binders that marketing had sourced were too small. We had to get larger ones. And so we're scrambling around like trying to find like these larger ones of the same version. And they are prepared, but there are like 2 municipalities over at a Staples there. So we have to go to that location and pick them up and stuff like that. So we send like one of our younger employees to go do that. And then I'm like, hey, I need 3 days to print this, right? Like, because we didn't hire an external printer, cost savings and environmental savings, supposedly. Anyways, and so we print off the first copy and we realized right away that there are problems with this copy and stuff like that. And so, it's like we have to make alterations, and it turns out some of the information was incorrect, so we have to like reprint and stuff like that. So what ends up happening is on the evening of the print, on the final evening before it has to kind of be delivered to them, and the salesperson is going to drive down to the location and deliver it in person. So they're going to make a trip with their family. They're going to leave on the Saturday morning kind of thing and like drive down and then be there bright and early on the Monday, right, kind of thing. And so we're printing this thing up, and we quickly realized that like the interns that we hired to kind of like hole punch it, because sugar paper doesn't come naturally hole punched, they hole punched on the wrong side, right? So now it's like, of those copies, we have to reprint everything. And so the salesperson is like, no problem, I'll meet with you after, we'll do this together, right? And we'll get out of here by kind of midnight kind of thing, but we'll do this together. We are printing it off, and the printer starts running out of ink. So it starts printing blues as pinks because it's run out of whatever is needed to make blue. And so I call like the IT technical person, and they're like, hey, there's no way that I can send someone to like fix this today. You're going to have to use the other printer, right? And so now we are switching to another printer. It prints in a slightly different color. onto this. And so we've had like 6 copies that we printed in full. We have to deliver 13. That means that we have 7 copies that are being printed in another way. And then suddenly the executive assistant for the CEO shows up and she's like, that's not acceptable. Like, this is representing the company. You have to print everything uniformly. And so we're like, oh, so we have to reprint all 13 copies. Okay, no problem. We're going to get this done. We're going to do this. And that's when we realized we're running out of this specific type of sugar paper.
I was just going to ask, did you have enough sugar paper?
We only bought 1 case, which was going to be enough. So now I have to run to Staples and they have a slightly different type of sugar paper. So we have to, once again, reprint all of the copies. We did not get out of there until 4 a.m. And I have the CEO's executive assistant, who was supposed to be on vacation starting Saturday as well, in her cocktail dress, because she was with the CEO at a last minute meeting that he called to meet with some out of town clients and stuff like that. So she is in her cocktail dress helping us print. The salesperson is there with her 2 sons, also like trying to keep them amused with like iPads and stuff like that while we print. We're getting a little bit testy, right? Kind of thing. And then we don't even have a box to house all 13 copies because they're massive. They're so big. And we're running out of like labels and everything like that. Like, the whole thing just became this disaster. And I can safely say that was actually the first time I was fired from that client. Now they rehired me.
I mean,
but yeah, I was definitely fired after that. They were like, Ben, you could have handled this process so much better. And I'm like, yeah.
How?
Let's have a postmortem on this one. But anyways, at the end of the day, at 3 a.m, the sales agent left with this box, this manhandled box that we had taped together with like glue and hope, with 13 copies of this document. They delivered it to the customer. We ended up winning that deal. I just want to tell you. And I want to be clear. I was working at another client at the time that the proposal manager that replaced me, because I had been fired, texted me that we had won the deal. And I cried in front of the other client because I was so happy that all that work had not gone to waste. So there you go.
Then that was a horror story I wasn't prepared for.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Without saying names, this was, however, a Northwestern company. So again, if you are out there and you think that you want to be environmentally friendly, just email the bid, please. Let us email it to you.
Or at least like one copy.
Yeah, 1 copy. All right. That was the Thursday temperature check. It is the weekend. Rachelle, you have any amazing plans?
It's Balloon Fiesta here in Albuquerque. I'm going to go watch the balloons.
I should have scheduled my time to visit you as this time. Whoops. Oh, well. Next time. All right. Hope y'all are like on top of all your bids and stuff like that. Hope you have a great Friday and hope you're not working through the weekend and you have something fun to do. Stay safe out there. Have fun. Bye. Oh, and then of course, once again, I forgot the outro info.